Victoria, thank you very much indeed. This, of course, is a complete break from protocol, because no past president of a federation should ever take the stage immediately after a current president. So it's okay this time, because Erica has asked me to do this. Because this, what I'm going to talk to you about, is about people. And indeed, this conference, if you stop and reflect on it, is also about people. It's about people and their activities and how those activities actually impact upon our natural heritage, our biodiversity. It's not about people being apart from biodiversity, it's about them being a part of biodiversity. And sadly, as Victoria has said, over the course of the last 12 months, some of the people who have most embodied that spirit and have had the ability to communicate that, to pick up a point that Erica touched on yesterday, to actually communicate how important that connection between people and biodiversity is and them being a part of it, are no longer with us. We heard last night of the very violent death of a president of one of the Italian parks, and it's quite right that that tribute was paid and that the Italian Federparchi members have asked that the conference overall be dedicated to his death. There are also three other people who I want to particularly mention. Geraint George from Wales, Jordi Falgarano from Spain, and of course Aitken Clarke, a former past president, who in fact, whilst he was from Scotland, lived in England, was in fact the archetypical European. A few words first about Geraint George. Anyone who had the opportunity to travel to and visit Snowdonia in 2002 cannot have failed but be captivated by that landscape, by its people, by its culture, by its natural richness, and Geraint in every way embodied that. He worked hard for Snowdonia, for the people there, for its natural heritage, for its cultural heritage, and of course he worked so hard also on behalf of Snowdon in a European context. And everyone who was in Český Krumlov will remember the way in which he communicated and regaled us all with the most humorous interpretation of a workshop that I think one of the General Assemblies has ever seen. There are very few, and I hope I'm taking this in the correct context, very few of us that have managed to make YouTube with a EUROPARC presentation, but I understand that if you look up Geraint on YouTube, you'll find him there. Jordi Falgarano. Jordi was larger than life. Absolutely amazing character. He was a friend, both on a personal level for many years. He worked hard on behalf of the council, on the section, and of course he dedicated his life and his work in La Garrocha, that most volcanic of landscapes in Spain. And we all of us who knew Jordi, knew that on occasions he could be as eruptive in his attitudes as that wonderful volcano that created that wonderful landscape. But he was a marvellous character, and I know that in preparing his last few years, because he knew for some time the consequences of his illness, that he prepared for death in the way that he lived life. He was positive, he communicated, he talked to people, and he was the one that embodied that positive communication of what life was really about. And finally, to Aitken Clarke. Aitken, of course. I still expect Aitken with his silver hair to walk in through the door. He encapsulates all that is good about EUROPARC. He encouraged everyone that had any inclination to become involved with EUROPARC to follow that through. He had an absolute marvellous way with people. He never imposed anything on people. He encouraged people. He gave them responsibility. He let them carry on with their lives. And of course, in his own life, he was so warm with his family, generous with his staff, generous with all the members of the EUROPARC family. And we really do miss all of those individuals who cannot be here with us today. But just to finish with a degree of positivity that I think is so typical of all the characters that I have just described. Victoria told me today that the volunteers on their way into this park this morning encountered one of your fine wolves. And I'm sure that the spirit of all those people rests within that wolf. Thank you very much indeed.